Hello, objective personality enthusiasts. So, I'm here to do another SI video because I know how much you all love SI. Yes, admit it deep down, you love SI. I know you do. So, I'm going to be talking about SI and making observations. And SI is kind of interesting because it's both very observant and yet it's very unobservant. Now, at least this is just from my own experience. So your mileage may vary as another SI or somebody who doesn't have SI. But what I've noticed is, those with high SI, like they'll be very observant of things that are in their box that they've deemed important to pay attention to. Um, you know, whether it's to satisfy their OI function, their DI function, or maybe because they have Savior DE and they know that the tribe thinks it's important or useful, so I got to pay attention to it. But they're observing in a more narrowed down way. Whereas those with high SE, they're just kind of taking in all the sensory, regardless of whether it's in their box or whether they personally think it's important or the tribe thinks it's important. They're just kind of more indiscriminately taking it all in, but maybe not necessarily going as deep. And also, I think SI people, they take less in, but I think they've got a better long-term memory of what they do take in. And I kind of think this is regardless of masculine or feminine SI, although I think masculine SI probably has a stronger memory impression on the whole. Whereas, SC, again, regardless of masculine, feminine, um, they're not always remembering things over a long term. It's just kind of in the moment. This is how I see it. There's always this knowledge that it's kind of just continually changing over time. So some examples of how my observations work is oftentimes I literally fail to see what's physically in front of me. Like if it's not in my box or I don't have a current need to know it or use it, or maybe nobody around me has asked for it. It's as if those objects don't exist to me. Um, so for in the workplace, for example, when I'm working in the library and I'm helping out my customers, you know, like we get, like I might get a kid that asks for a sticker, and you know, and I don't know where the stickers are, and they're in a little container, like kind of right on my desk, right at the desk I'm working at, and I may not literally see them or know that they're there. And this is especially the case if they got moved around a lot, um, or even if they didn't, I still may not notice because it's not in my box. It's not the normal scope of my job. Maybe you know no one had asked about them, so it's not on my radar. And I know somebody with SC might notice that the stickers are there. Ooh, stickers! And whether or not they like stickers or need stickers or it's in their box or somebody asks for stickers, they just notice that the stickers are there. Um, I've one time I had a patron ask for a paper cutter. I didn't know where that was. Um, and it wasn't in a hard to find place either. It just was not on my radar because I hadn't had really much personal use for one, so I just didn't pay attention to it. Um, when I'm shelving books in the library, like I will be very observant of little errors in the order that books are shelved. Like if I'm shelving books by Dewey Decimal Number and they swap 2 decimal points, I noticed it right away and I gotta fix it because if they're not in perfect order, people won't find what they need. We can't have that happen. So details like that, I'll be very attentive to. The same thing when I'm reading a document, like I'll just notice typographical errors. They just stick out to me, almost effortlessly. But like I said, that's something that's kind of in my box, and I know that sometimes, depending on what it is, a typo could possibly lead to ambiguity or misinterpretation. But on the other hand, I notice that when I'm shelving books, even though the books may be in perfect Dewey Decimal order or alphabetical order, there's other details that I was totally missing until somebody else pointed them out. Um, so one thing about like shelving, for example, is this is kind of more of an aesthetic thing, but ideally try to have approximately the same amount of material on each shelf. So for example, you know, like at the top shelf, maybe it goes this far. And then the shelf below it only goes this far. And then maybe the one at the bottom, it's going woo like that. So they're uneven. And so I was told, you should shift them more so that you kind of get an even distribution. So you got this and this and this. So and that was something that I didn't really pay attention to before. I'm sure other people noticed that, but it just was not on my radar. And so now that's been something new that I've been adding to my box as I'm shelving books. Do they look even? Not just are they, in order, but do they also look even? And then also somebody pointed out, those shelves are awful dusty. And again, that may have not been something I was paying as much attention to because I was so over focused on having the books in order. So SI can be kind of a blessing or a curse in that way. It can really pay close attention to some details and get them right, but then it can be completely blind to some other details. Um, and just to give one more example here, this was with a photocopier machine, in the library. And um, I got two library jobs. So I got one job where I'm, like work part-time at, and I always work at the same library, but then I work in a different library system. In that system, I'm a floater and I work on call and I float between different locations. Well, this one location had a photocopier a bit different than what I was used to. And we had a photocopier problem and, going down my checklist, um, I wasn't sure what the problem was. So I thought, well, I'll just reboot the thing. I couldn't find the on off switch. And it turns out that there was a little cover that opens, and inside that cover was a switch. But the switch wasn't visible from the outside. And so, of course, I couldn't find the switch because it didn't match my experience. You don't put switches there. You put switches where you can see them. And I had another issue with this um, Apple monitor where there was a tiny on off switch in the back. You could hardly see it. It was almost invisible. And I'm like, you call that a switch? Because I'm used to the switches being more obvious. So sometimes again, I can just easily miss things. They're outside my realm of experience. Because what I do is um over time I kind of build these concepts of what something should be, based on my observations. So it's like I build an idea of what a chair should be, or but then somebody else says, "Oh, I'm going to sit in that chair over there," and I can get confused because that's not what I think of as a chair. I'm like, "Well, that doesn't really have legs. It's got a cushion." What you want to say is that's a sofa. It's more like a sofa and not a chair. Or you can maybe even just go to the more general category, like seating, okay? So that's another thing I've noticed with my SI is sometimes it'll get kind of pedantic about the wording. And if you're not wording it just right, I may not quite understand. So so yeah, that's my video on SI and observations. I'm curious how observations work in your life, especially if you're say your SI. Do you consider yourself an observant person, or do you find yourself rather unobservant of things? And what kinds of things are you observant of, and what kinds of things kind of pass you by? Write them down in the comments. I'll also link to my SI playlist for other SI videos. And and yeah, if you want to see more videos, please subscribe to my channel. Have a great day, you all. Bye bye.